So it's 11:45 on Friday morning, and we're heading home. We're going to try and do it all in one hop, all the way to Medway, which is sort of 100 miles-ish, but we might not. If we all get too exhausted, we might stop at Dover or Ramsgate or somewhere, you know, like that on the way. But that's the plan anyway. We locked out at 11 o'clock because that was about an hour before Navionics said tide turned at Eastbourne. Not quite sure when that is, but if we can average 7 knots, which is possible, we're going to motor sail, and we motor at 6.5 knots in flat water, not that flat water, but with the sails up that'll help, and with some tidal push that'll compensate for the times when we're not doing it. But if we can average 7 knots, we'll get to the mouth of the Medway just as the tide turns there to push us in. So we'll have tide, say 3/4 of the journey. It'll be the bit around from Margate to Sheerness where we might struggle a bit, but at least it should be slackish water then. So it should be a good window if we make the average times I'm working on and if everything goes to plan. But what Hannah and I were just saying is that I'm not particularly good in rolling waves because I get seasick, and there's only about a metre swell here with the occasional one that's a bit bigger, but we're going over Pevensey Bay and it's quite shallow, so they're quite close together, so the boat's rolling all over the place, which isn't a good start to the journey for me. So we've reached Dover.
Control blustery day over.
Somewhere behind me there is the docks. We're a couple of miles offshore.
Blustery day, we are about 200 yards
sorry about the radio.
Western entrance, and seeking your permission to enter, over. Yes, sir, all clear.
We're a couple of miles offshore and just working away across. There's no ferries in sight, which is quite unusual, but there's a cruise ship right in front of us, which we think is waiting to go in the dock, but we're not sure. And he's like a fair way out, and I really want to head in towards shore to kind of cut the corner, and I don't want to be going out to the shipping channel or something, so we're currently deliberating on what to do, but it looks like he's turned even more now, actually, now I'm talking to you, so perhaps we'll just go behind him and it'll save all the panic. We've had this horrible rolling sea the whole way. Just a kind of quartering wave, been quite big at times, or big by our standards. Bearing in mind we sail on a river, so we're not really used to waves at all. Yeah, they've been over 2 metres, probably 3 at times, which hasn't been so bad. Like now we're here outside Dover, it's 30 metres of water, so it's not so bad. But in the shallower water of the bays we crossed, they're so close together that the anchor's digging in the one way while the stern's stuck in the back of the other one. It's quite hard work. So that was all quite uneventful in the end. The cruise ship was going in, but was less of a problem because they were still transferring the pilots to it. But there was a ferry coming in, so we kind of went out to sea a bit to go around the back of the ferry, jibed, and then we've come back across, and it's all been quite easy really. No, it's very subtle.
It's like the 10th way more.
We're in the middle of the sea trying to get around the Margate sands at night. Izzy's in charge of the buttons. But the tide's falling, so we're a bit nervous about going too close to them. So it's now 11 o'clock, and the forecast really wasn't right on this trip. This wind was meant to die off to just 5 or 6 knots for the last part here, where we're punching into the wind and tide, but it's actually been like 15 knots, which of course is 20 knots over the deck, and consequently has also kicked up a sea, so we're crashing into waves whilst we're punching against the wind and the tide. So where we would normally be doing, say, 6 knots for a couple of knots of tide, making 8 knots, we're doing 6 knots for a couple of knots of tide and the wind against us, doing 3.5 knots. So this part of the journey is taking quite literally twice as long as it should, or more than twice as long as it should. But it is what it is. The plus side is that we're getting to look at the stars, which a lot of you will take for granted. But living in the southeast of England, we don't see the stars. I know it sounds crazy to a lot of you, but there's so much light pollution and so many clouds and so much weather that we don't get to see the stars normally. But it's the one thing the weather forecast did get right is it's a cloudless sky. So we're sitting here crashing through waves with the engine on, pounding along, but we are getting to just look up at the stars for first time in ever, basically. Izzy's certainly never seen this many stars, so it's been good. And because the radar's working, it gives me some confidence, because the moon's not up, which is making it a bit harder, so it's very dark, which is good for seeing stars, but it's not good when you're trying to navigate the Thames. But because the radar's working, it gives me some confidence that at least anything big, I can see it coming, so it's going well, although it's been a long day.